I never thought getting a vasectomy, something my husband and I both agreed on, would turn me into the family disgrace. But somehow it did. And it wasn't because of the surgery itself, it was because my mother-in-law decided to weaponize it. It started with a toast. That's what kills me. It began with a freaking toast at a Sunday family brunch. To legacies, Mayamel Diane said as she lifted her mimosa. To sons who don't abandon their heritage. And to daughters-in-law who understand what it means to carry on the family line. She didn't look at me, but everyone else did. You know that icy silence? The kind that creeps in and settles on your skin like frost? That's what I felt in that moment. I blinked at my husband Tyler, who looked just as blindsided. But Diane didn't stop there. I'll rewind. Tyler and I have been married for 5 years. We're both 33. We're child-free by choice. After a particularly scary pregnancy scare last year and a long tearful conversation where I confessed I didn't want to put my body through the offered, without hesitation, to get a vasectomy. It's reversible if we ever change our minds, he said with a shrug, like it was nothing. But it meant everything. We didn't tell anyone. Not because we were ashamed, God, no, but because it wasn't anyone's business. Especially not his mother's. Diane has never liked me. I was too loud, too opinionated, too Americanized, as she put it once at dinner, despite the fact that I was born and raised in Seattle. I guess she pictured a soft-spoken, apron-wearing woman for her baby boy. Instead, she got me. Career-focused, sarcastic, and with zero interest in PDA meetings or gender reveal parties. She'd made plenty of passive-aggressive digs before. But the vasectomy news? That unleashed something darker. We didn't know how she found out. Tyler hadn't told anyone. I certainly hadn't. But she must have known. The timing lined up too perfectly. She started planting these poisonous little seeds at family events, to cousins, to aunts, to the family priest. It's such a shame, she would say, sighing dramatically. Some women just aren't built for motherhood. Or worse. There's nothing wrong with my son, you know. It's not his fault they can't conceive. She never confronted me directly. Instead, she lit little fires in every room we walked into. At Thanksgiving, I found myself seated next to a cousin I hadn't spoken to in years, who leaned over and whispered, "Don't worry, adoption's a beautiful option too." I stared at him, stunned. Tyler finally confronted her. Or tried to. He cornered her in the kitchen after brunch and asked point-blank what the hell she was doing. I wasn't in the room, but I heard her voice carry through the walls like a siren. "You let her take your manhood, Tyler. And now I'm the one left to explain to the family why there won't be a next generation." That night he came home shaking. I'd never seen him cry like that. "She said I should divorce you before it's too late. That I'm being emasculated." He dropped onto the couch beside me, staring at the floor. "She said she'd rather we lie and say you're barren than admit I did this willingly." We didn't speak for a while. It was like someone had pulled the air out of the room. "She's telling people I'm barren?" I finally asked. "She's telling people I'm less of a woman because you made a choice for your body?" He nodded. I didn't know what to say. I don't know what snapped in me first, the rage or the heartbreak. I thought about all the family gatherings where I politely listened to her rants about real women and the importance of bloodlines. I thought about how I genuinely tried to win her over. And now she was walking around painting me as broken, defective, unwomanly. Here's where it gets even more twisted. One of her friends, a nosy woman named Claire, approached me outside the grocery store a week later. "You poor thing," she said, with that fake sweet voice older women seem to weaponize so well. "Don't let Diane get to you. Being barren isn't the end of the world. You're still valuable." I blinked. "I'm not barren," I said, probably too loud. She looked stunned. "Oh, I just assumed." "Well, that's what Diane said. That you've been trying for years, but it's just not working." I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw my shopping bags into the air and yell, "I have a functioning uterus, thank you very much." But instead I walked away shaking. That's when I realized. This wasn't just family drama anymore. She was assassinating my character in public. That night I told Tyler I was done. Not with him but with pretending. "We're telling the truth," I said. "If she wants to wage a war, I'm not fighting it in the shadows." He agreed. Hesitantly, but he did. So we sent out an email. A mass family email. I know it sounds petty, but it wasn't angry. It was direct. Clear. We are child-free by choice. We love our life. Tyler chose a vasectomy because we wanted peace of mind, not because of infertility. Please stop spreading misinformation. This is our boundary. The replies were mixed. Some of the younger cousins sent hearts. An aunt replied, "Thank you for being honest." But others, especially Diane's loyal foot soldiers, lashed out. "You embarrassed your mother," one said. "It's not natural," another wrote. "I thought you were raised better." And Diane? She called Tyler and sobbed. "You've humiliated me," she said. "How dare you announce you're neutering like it's something to be proud of." That's when Tyler finally cut her off. He blocked her number, told the family we'd be taking a break, and for a while it felt like peace. Until the twist. About 3 months later, I got a call from Tyler's younger sister, June. We'd never been close, but she was always kind. Quiet, bookish, a little shadow in the family chaos. She told me something that made my stomach drop. "She's saying worse things now," June whispered. "She's telling people you forced him, that you threatened to leave him if he didn't get the vasectomy, that you said you'd never carry a parasite." Her words. I sank onto the edge of our bed. "And there's more," June continued, voice shaking. "She's saying you had an abortion before the wedding. That's why you hate kids." I couldn't breathe. Because I had. It had been years ago, when I was 24, before I met Tyler. It had been the hardest choice I ever made. And I'd told him in confidence one night after too many glasses of wine, long before we were even engaged. How the hell does she know? I asked June, but I already knew. Tyler had told his mom. He thought it would help her understand me better. Humanize me. He was wrong. I looked at him that night, and something between us cracked. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just asked, "Did you tell her about the abortion?" He nodded, silent. I didn't know she'd. "I'm so sorry." And for the first time I wondered if love was enough. I didn't speak to Tyler for 3 days. Not out of cruelty. Not to punish him. But because I physically couldn't. Every time I looked at him, I saw betrayal twisted into his expression, remorse. Yes. But also a deep, hollow cowardice I hadn't noticed before. He was the man I loved. The man who defended me. And the man who, in a moment of misplaced trust, gave his mother a loaded weapon and aimed it at me. On the 3rd night, I found him on the back porch with his head in his hands. "I didn't know she'd use it like that," he said before I could open my mouth. "I thought if she understood, if she knew what you went through, she'd stop painting you like some villain." I sat across from him, knees pulled to my chest. The air between us was brittle. "I didn't tell anyone about your vasectomy," I said. "I never betrayed your story." He nodded. "I know. But you told her the most private part of mine." Silence. "She didn't deserve that," I added. "She didn't earn that kind of honesty from me or from you." He rubbed his hands over his face. "I was stupid." "No," I said quietly. "You were naive. And that's worse because you knew exactly who she is." He looked up at me, his eyes rimmed red. "Do you want me to leave?" I didn't answer immediately. I stared at the moonlight hitting the backyard fence. Something in me wanted to say yes, just to regain power, to draw a line, to scream that love should come with sharper consequences. But I didn't want him gone. I wanted him to grow. "I want you to understand that this isn't just between me and her anymore," I said finally. "This is about you. About how you've let her take up space in our marriage." "I'll cut her off," he said quickly. "No. Not because I tell you to. Because you want to. Because you see what she's done." He sat still. Then slowly he nodded. The next morning he sent her a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A printed, signed letter. In it, he told her that he was stepping back indefinitely. That until she apologized, publicly and truthfully, for the lies she spread, she would not be welcome in our home. He called out her behavior as abusive, manipulative, and cruel. And he ended it with this: "You always said family came first. I'm finally holding you to that by protecting mine from you." We mailed it. We waited. 3 weeks passed with silence. Blessed golden silence. No phone calls. No gossip. No sudden appearances at our door. Then came the retaliation. It was June again who warned me. She called one night after work, her voice panicked and fast. She posted on Facebook, she said. You need to see it. I opened the app, and there it was, a long passive-aggressive letter to friends and family, on Diane's wall. She never named me directly. She didn't have to. She talked about the loss of tradition, about how some women convince their husbands to mutilate themselves in the name of feminism, about certain younger generations who mock the sanctity of motherhood and use trauma as a shield for selfishness. I read the whole thing, hand trembling. The comments were worse. Cousins, old church friends, even some co-workers of hers chimed in. You raised your son right, Diane. So sorry you're going through this. That woman sounds like poison. I wasn't shocked anymore. Just tired. I thought about clapping back. I typed out a whole rebuttal, but I didn't post it. Instead, I met with a lawyer. Because here's the thing. Diane had crossed into defamation. She had told people I was infertile, that I'd had a secret abortion, that I was unwell, mentally, and now she was putting it online on a public platform where she had over 1,000 friends and colleagues. And I had proof. I didn't want money. I wanted a cease and desist. I wanted to be left the hell alone. The lawyer agreed I had a case. She sent the first letter within a week. That's when the final thread snapped. Diane showed up at my workplace. Yesmi actual office. She walked in like she owned the place, past reception and straight to my cubicle. I stood up, heart pounding, before I could even fully register her face. You're suing me now, she hissed, low and venomous. Is that what you do to family? I stared. You're not family. That seemed to strike something deep in her. Her face paled. Her lip trembled, but her eyes, those awful snake-like eyes, were full of fire. I gave you a chance, she said. I tolerated you. But you ruined my son. You took everything from him. Tyler made his own choices, I replied coldly. I didn't force him. You just can't handle the fact that he's not your puppet anymore. She leaned closer. I will never forgive you for what you did to him. And one day he won't either. Security escorted her out. I sat in the office bathroom and cried for 20 minutes. Not because I was scared. Not even because I was angry. But because I finally understood. There was nothing I could do that would ever be enough. No amount of love, grace, patience, or boundaries would soften her. She didn't hate me because of what I did. She hated me because of who I was. And she always would. Later that night, I told Tyler everything. About the visit. About the lawyer. About the pain. He didn't flinch. I support you, he said. Whatever it takes. We moved the next month. Not far. Just enough to feel like we were starting fresh. Tyler changed his phone number. I deleted every mutual family contact on social media. We built a new routine: quiet mornings, dinner for 2 long walks where we didn't talk about Diane. For the first time in years I felt free. But the world is never that simple. At a cousin's wedding 6 months later, we bumped into her. It was unavoidable. We were seated at the same table. The room went still when we walked in. I held Tyler's hand so tight, I thought I might break his fingers. She didn't say a word. But she looked at me. Not with fire. Not with ice. With pity. And that hurt more than anything she'd ever said. Because I realized she hadn't learned. She hadn't changed. She still believed I was the villain. But now she just saw me as a lost cause. A scar on the family legacy. That night as we drove home, I asked Tyler a question I'd been holding in for months. If we ever did want kids, pathetically, would you regret the vasectomy? He glanced over, startled. No, he said quickly. Why? I shrugged. Just wondering. About regrets. About legacy. He pulled over. We have a legacy, he said, turning to face me. It's this. It's us. It's how we love each other and protect each other. If we ever choose to expand that, fine. But I will never regret doing what made you feel safe. I let that sink in. Because it was true. Legacy isn't bloodlines. It's not Christmas cards or heirloom cribs or bragging rights at church. It's the family you build deliberately, gently, fiercely. And sometimes that means drawing a boundary so sharp it leaves scars. But those scars, they remind you that you survived. And I did. A few months after the wedding, I got a text from June. It was simple. Just a photo of a card. Pale blue, soft script, little baby feet on the front. A baby shower invitation. She's planning it like it's a royal coronation, June wrote. Tyler's cousin Ashley is pregnant. Guess who's hosting? I didn't even need to guess. It was Diane, of course. I should have rolled my eyes and moved on. I should have ignored it, treated it like background noise. But I didn't. Something about that card, the dainty font, the gushing words like celebrating new life and strong motherhood burned me. Because I knew Diane would make it about herself. She always did. And she did. Photos from the shower flooded Facebook and Instagram. Diane in her signature blush pink blazer, hands possessively on Ashley's shoulders, smiling like she was the one expecting. She gave a speech, according to June. A whole speech about the sacred calling of motherhood and carrying the family name into the future. She even quoted Bible verses. And then, because she's nothing if not committed to passive aggression, she reportedly said this. Some women reject the gift of motherhood. Some even go as far as preventing it. But not our Ashley. She understands legacy. It was like she had me on a voodoo doll. And every event was another pin. Tyler saw the photos too. We didn't talk about them. Not for a few days. Until I finally broke and said, "Does it ever make you wish you'd waited?" He looked confused. Waited for what? The vasectomy. The boundary. Everything. He shook his head. No. But it makes me wish she'd gone to therapy. Or been born in another century. I laughed at that. And I hated that I laughed because underneath the humor was something raw and real grief. Not over not having kids. Over the constant need to justify not having them. Over the way womanhood is treated like a performance, and if you don't want the starring role of mother, people act like you're tearing down the whole stage. A week later, Diane sent an email. I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I was curious. Maybe I was tired of hiding. The subject line was, foreclosure. The email wasn't an apology. It was a manifesto. She wrote about how she had forgiven me in her heart. About how she was letting go of the pain we'd caused her by shutting her out. She wrote about how she hoped I would find healing. And that she was at peace knowing the family name was being preserved elsewhere. Then she ended it with this. You may not have chosen to carry on the family line, but I will carry you in prayer. Always. I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen and thought, even her forgiveness feels like a curse. I showed it to Tyler. He laughed bitterly. She thinks this is grace. She thinks this is her being the bigger person. I nodded. To her, I'm a lost sheep. She's just praying I'll come crawling back. We deleted the email together. No more energy wasted. But life has a way of circling back to old wounds. A few months after that, my sister called me in tears. She just had a miscarriage, her second in a year. She and her wife had been trying for a while, and this one had gone further than the last. I listened as she sobbed through the phone, my chest tight. I don't know what's wrong with me, she whispered. I feel like my body is broken. And something in me cracked open. Because I knew that pain. Not personally, but I'd been accused of it so many times that I'd worn it like a second skin. I knew what it was like to feel unwomaned by people's expectations. I booked a flight the next day and flew out to see her. We didn't talk about Diane. We didn't talk about family shame. We just sat, watched trash TV, ate pancakes at midnight, and let the world shrink down to something soft. And that's when I remembered. Family isn't blood. It's effort. It's care. It's showing up over and over even when things are hard. Especially when they're hard. When I got home, I told Tyler we needed a new tradition. Something just for us. So we started a ritual. Every Saturday morning we'd wake up early, drive to the coast and take a long walk on the beach. No phones. No obligations. Just waves and silence. Some mornings we'd talk about everything, fears, futures, childhood wounds. Other times we'd walk side by side and say nothing. It became sacred. Then one morning in March we found a little girl on the beach, maybe 5 years old, crying alone near the tide pools. She'd wandered away from her parents. Tyler knelt down immediately, spoke gently, kept her calm while I called security. When her parents came running 10 minutes later, I saw something in their eyes, terror, gratitude, pure relief. And something flickered inside me. Not longing, but clarity. I didn't need to be a mother to know I was whole. And Tyler didn't need to father a child to prove his manhood. We were already enough. But just when things felt settled, the past threw one more twist our way. It was an old voicemail. Tyler was clearing out his inbox when he found a message from Diane, left months ago, shortly after we moved. He must have missed it since she was blocked. Somehow it had slipped through the cracks. We played it together. Her voice was slow, tired. Not angry. Not smug. "I hope you're well," she said. "I saw your photo at the beach. You looked happy. I know you won't believe this, but I do miss you. Both of you. I still think you've made mistakes. But I guess I made mine too." Silence. Then a sigh. "I was so proud when Tyler was born. I swore I'd do everything right. But maybe I held on too tight. Maybe I forgot that love isn't control." The voicemail ended there. I didn't cry. But I didn't delete it either. Tyler looked at me. "What do we do with that?" I shrugged. "Nothing. Let it sit." And that's what we did. We didn't call her. We didn't open that door again. But we let the message sit like a stone on the porch, acknowledged, but not carried inside. Months passed. Then one evening June called again. This time her voice was light. "She's changing," she said. "I don't know if it's age or therapy or just being tired of fighting. But she's quieter now. Softer. She doesn't talk about you the way she used to." I was skeptical, but curious. Then came the unexpected. An invitation. Not to a party. Not to a baby shower. To dinner. A quiet, simple dinner at June's house. Diane would be the rebut, so would June's husband, and their friends. A neutral ground. No pressure. No speeches. Tyler looked at me when we got the invite. "What do you want to do?" I hesitated. Then I said the thing I never thought I would. "I want to see if she can face me. Not as a mother-in-law. Not as a symbol. Just as a woman." So we went. When we arrived, Diane was already seated at the table. She stood up slowly when she saw us. She looked older. Smaller. Like someone had wrung the fight out of her. She didn't hug me. I didn't expect her to. But she did say, "Thank you for coming." That night was awkward. Polite. Tense in places. But something about it felt different. Not redeemed. But real. Halfway through the meal, Diane looked up and said softly, "You never had to prove anything to me. I just didn't know how to stop expecting it." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because maybe this wasn't an ending. Maybe it was just the quiet part after the storm. The breath between pain and peace. And for once that was enough. Dinner with Diane didn't solve everything. There were no grand apologies, no dramatic "I was wrong" speeches. Just small, intentional moments, quiet acknowledgments, slower glances, the subtle absence of judgment. That's how I knew something had shifted. Not because she said the perfect thing, but because for the first time she didn't try to say anything that would hurt me. After we left June's house that night, Tyler and I sat in the car in silence. "What do you think?" he finally asked, hand still on the steering wheel. "I think I'm tired," I said truthfully. "But I also think I'm not angry right now. And that feels new." He nodded. "She didn't ask for forgiveness." "She didn't deserve it," I replied. "But maybe I deserved the peace that comes from not needing to give it anymore." That peace, small, fragile, carried us through the rest of the year. Diane didn't reach out again. She didn't suddenly transform into some sweet, hand-knitting grandma. But she stopped trying to erase me. And in her world, that was monumental. Then one day, out of the blue, she sent a letter. A real handwritten letter. It arrived on a Wednesday. I almost didn't open it, but something made me tear it slowly along the edge and pull out the folded paper. Her handwriting was softer than I remembered, slightly shaky, like it had been written slowly and with care. "Dear Lily, I was wrong. About many things. I don't expect you to believe I've changed. People like me say that when they want something. But I don't want anything. I just want to put this on record while I still have time. I failed you. I let fear of change and my obsession with control poison something that could have been beautiful. I see now that you didn't take anything from my son. You gave him peace. A home. A partner who stands beside him, not behind him. That is something I never knew how to be. I told myself I hated you because you stole him. But the truth is I hated you because he chose you. And because you didn't need my approval. That made me feel powerless. And I lashed out in every way I knew how. I don't expect a relationship. I don't even expect this letter to matter. But I had to say it. I had to admit that I was cruel and wrong and small. And I am sorry. Diane. I read it twice. The second time I cried. Not for her. Not for me. But for all the time that had been lost in the fog of her hate and my pain. For the years spent walking on eggshells defending choices that never needed defense. For every holiday we skipped. Every milestone darkened by her shadow. Tyler came home that night and found me sitting at the kitchen table with the letter. I handed it to him wordlessly. He read it in full, then looked at me with tears in his eyes. Do you want to respond? I shook my head. No. Not yet. And I didn't. Not for months. I carried that letter folded in the back pocket of my journal, like a strange keepsake. Some days I read it again and felt nothing. Other days it gutted me all over again. In the spring, I started volunteering at a reproductive health clinic, quiet hours at the front desk, comforting nervous patients, organizing paperwork. It wasn't loud activism. It was presence. A steady, grounded presence for women who, like me, had once been told they were broken, unwomanly, unnatural. I met a girl there, barely 20, bright eyes, shaking hands. She was there for an abortion and came alone. When I asked if she needed anything, she said, I just don't want to feel ashamed. And something inside me settled. I told her gently, you don't have to be brave right now. Just honest. After her appointment, she hugged me. That night I told Tyler about her. How familiar she'd felt. How I'd seen my younger self in her. And I realized something. Diane had tried to erase my womanhood with shame. But I had reclaimed it. Not through defiance but through compassion. For others. For myself. Even for her. When summer came, we were invited to another family gathering, June's birthday. Tyler looked unsure. Do you want to go? Yes, I said. Even if she's there? Especially if she's there. We went. Diane was there. Quiet. Sitting near the back, not holding court like she used to. Her face lit up slightly when she saw us, but she didn't approach. Until the very end. She waited until most people had left. Then walked over slowly, cautiously, and stood a few feet away. Thank you for coming, she said, voice soft. I nodded. Thank you for the letter. She swallowed hard. Did it matter? I didn't answer right away. I looked at her, really looked, and saw not a villain, not even a mother-in-law, but just a woman. Flawed. Weathered. Trying. Yes, I said. It mattered. Then I added. But I'm not ready for more than this. I don't know if I ever will be. She nodded. I understand. And maybe she did. We left shortly after. Tyler held my hand all the way to the car. No words. Just silence and the sound of healing being woven, thread by thread, into something stronger. Months passed. Seasons changed. We kept walking the beach. Kept showing up for each other. We added small things to our life, a cat named Beans. A second-hand piano I swore I'd learn to play. Sunday mornings spent trying new pancake recipes. We didn't fill our lives with noise to replace the absence of children. We just filled it with us. And that was enough. Sometimes people still ask. Strangers at the store. Acquaintances at parties. Do you have kids? I smile now. Nope. Some press. Why not? And I say, because our life is full the way it is. Most nod. Some don't understand. But I've stopped trying to make them. Because here's the truth I wish I'd known earlier. You don't owe the world your womb. You don't owe your family a legacy they can brag about. You don't owe your elders your silence when they shame you. You owe yourself peace, joy, boundaries, and the kind of love that doesn't make you beg for dignity. Tyler and I built a home, not a dynasty. And I am not barren. I am blooming in my own damn way. And that is enough.